I am not gonna play no damn Brown Dust 2. The frustrating culture of dead gaming franchises. 28 minutes. Oh my god. What the fuck am I looking at? Tactical
Hello,
bacon?
everybody. So, confession time. This is not my first crack at this topic. I had an entire separate version of this video scripted and recorded, but it got pushed to the back burner for a little while, and I came back to it and I wasn't really happy with it, so I decided to basically start from scratch. And this is a topic I've wanted to discuss for a while, but have resisted because I feel like it's an inherently confrontational and controversial topic. The topic of why certain—
You said last chill stream you watched a 20-minute video. Bro. If I watched a 20-minute video, it's because it was either the end of the stream and or I was tired. Right now, I got energy. And I am not going to watch a 30-minute video talking about frustrating culture of dead gaming franchises. 30 minutes. Do you know how long 30 minutes is? That's 30 cycles of 60.
franchises die while others thrive, and my issues with the culture surrounding dormant franchises. So keep in mind while you're watching this video, when I'm discussing toxic behavior, I am in no way implying that everyone takes part in said toxic behavior. I'm only discussing the people who do. I'll start this off by saying, I think everyone in the world is to some degree an egotist, and that's a good thing, because believing in yourself, having self-worth, these are positive traits in moderation.
Yes.
But I feel as though unchecked egotism can manifest itself in a lot of rather unhealthy ways, and amongst gamers, you tend to see one's own egotism manifest in a way that puts unfounded importance on things they like, meanwhile downplaying the things they don't like. This is especially the case on social media, where algorithms will push things into your feed that you will like, or in cases like Reddit, where you can join groups specifically tailored to your interests. Social media, among other things, encourages this misplaced importance because it's a good way to keep you on their platforms so you can see more ads. I remember this meme circulating a while back, and it gave me pause because what I saw here was a series of franchises that weren't popular being compared to a series of franchises that were popular. But
You said you didn't even watch the Nairo video that was about 20 minutes long? Dylan, maybe I didn't watch the Nairo video because I don't want to watch a fucking video where a person got into a whole controversy within the Smash community, and the last thing I want to do is watch a 20-minute video with a fucking dude that everybody knows damn well a bunch of bullshit happened, and then you gonna have that 1, 2, 3 fucking viewer Andy coming into the chat being like, wow, why are you watching videos on Nairo? Bro, I don't want to watch no fucking videos on Nairo. Why the fuck would you sending me a video on where Nairo talking for 20 minutes is like you sending me a video of Cat and Zach talking for 20 minutes. I don't give a fuck about these motherfuckers. I don't want to see them. I don't want to see them in my feed, period. I don't want to see them. I'm tired of look, I'm tired of these Smash Bros ass motherfuckers. I have never ever been in the Smash community like that to the point where you guys gotta constantly keep sending me fucking Smash Brother Andy ass motherfuckers, especially the motherfuckers that got canceled. Why the fuck would you send me the motherfuckers who got canceled in long extended period fucking videos? Bro, you said who's Captain Zach? Bitch, do your research. Do your fucking research, bro. My God, it's like, come on, bro.
Mostly
you said, nah, you tell me no, bitch. Go search it up. Google is free.
The reason why a lot of your favorite franchises die is that they're simply not as popular or as important as you think they are. Game development these days is a very expensive thing, even with lower tier games. While I do believe that there's a lot of overspending in major game development, that doesn't downplay the fact that with technology and general sensibilities evolving the way they have, they've evolved to the point where the base level of how much games cost is more than they were back before.
You say our Smash veteran doesn't associate with them?
Capture or
Bro.
even HD graphics became a requirement.
Look, not the motherfuckers who got canceled.
There was once a time when you could have a game sell 1, 2, or 300,000 copies and still make a modest profit. But in many cases, that's not the case anymore, which is why you don't see many legacy video game franchises these days, and why you saw so many of them go away in the early to mid-2010s. If an entire company shifts their philosophy into a direction that you don't like, but they end up making more money than ever, then maybe you're in the minority, but it's okay to be in the minority. I think there's no bigger example of a surprisingly unpopular game series than Mega Man. This is a series known for its long.
I fucking hate Mega Man. Why? Because it's too hard, bro. This game is like one of the most jank platformers that anything kills you.
longevity, its iconic imagery, its quality gameplay, and how it inspired so many games in the modern
It's
age.
the Dark
But
Souls
let
of
me tell you
platforming,
something.
bro.
Capcom
Next to
is
Crash
one of the few
Bandicoot.
developers or publishers that actually posts all of their sales figures over 1 million
It is the
copies.
Dark
But
Souls
do
of
you wanna take a
platformers.
guess
I
how
don't
far
care.
you
I'm
have
gonna
to
say that shit with
scroll
my
down
whole
the list
chest.
to find a single
You
Mega
said
Man
skill
game?
issue? I bet
At
you
time of
Electric
writing,
and Time Clock GG,
65
y'all can't even
entries.
name
And
me
despite
5
being a
Mega
series
Man
of
games
over
that y'all
100
beat.
games,
Y'all about to
only
go
7
cookie.
Mega Man games have sold over 1 million copies.
Name me
Two of
5
those were
Mega Man
legacy
games you beat. You're gonna do
collections,
this.
3 of them couldn't even crack the
Because you
top
can't
100,
name them.
barely
Because they
selling
mad
over a
hard.
million units. There's such a disconnect between how iconic this franchise is and how popular it actually is. And why is that? I genuinely could not tell you why. But that's why you don't see so many Mega
That's
Man.
the difference. I could tell you 5 Mario games that I beat easily. But if I go to you and I'd be like, tell me 5 Mega Man games you beat, you gonna be like, Mega Man Battle Network. No. We're not talking about Battle Network. We're talking about OG Mega Man. The one where you gotta jump. He got that weird ass, that hop where his hand is up and it's that Mega Man. We ain't talking about Battle Network. We talking about OG Mega Man. Name 5 OG Mega Man games that you beat that are hard as shit. You will not name them shits. You will not name them shits. You will not name them shits.
Games.
You say you changed it last minute? No, because even me myself, I beat some of the Battle Network games, and I wouldn't even consider the Battle Network games to be like the OG Mega Man games, because the OG ones are way fucking harder than Battle Network. Battle Network, you could finesse and make your card set mad broken to the point where you could just start doing some crazy shit. But OG Mega Man is just straight up platforming, shooting, knowing enemy attack patterns. The second you walk off the screen, the enemy respawns. Jank ass bullshit where like you're off by a pixel, the enemy respawns. I hate games like that, bro. Like, come on.
Days and why the franchise went on a 10-year hiatus at one point. It was clearly a series that was built on small but consistent profits and was a franchise spearheaded by a single man. Once both those elements went away, what reason did Capcom have to keep the franchise going when they could make a Street Fighter game, a Resident Evil game, a Devil May Cry game, or a Monster Hunter game and sell 10 times as many copies? Mega Man has a massive profile on social media, which is why you see so many people pining for more, but from Capcom's perspective, what reason do they have? Not historical precedent, that's for sure. I feel like that million-unit figure is a good point of reference to pinpoint the bare minimum of what it might take for a game to be profitable these days. In many cases, it's much more than that, but if you can't even crack a million, you have no hope. Let's take Konami now, a publisher who has a very mixed history these days, but there's no doubt that they're another example of a developer/publisher who has a lot of iconic IP in their back pocket, but a lot of which don't nearly have the same amount of clout as you'd think. Contra is a long-running franchise that has allegedly sold 5 million copies collectively, but not one entry has ever sold over 1 million copies. Or Castlevania, which is another long-standing series that has an unparalleled legacy. And
Because those games are very niche. There's a niche community for them, but then it's like, there's a niche community of them that's also holding on strongly to nostalgia. So it's like, if you make like a new version of the game and then you make it look new, polished, and then like, sometimes even the older generation will look at it and be like, I don't think I'm gonna go crazy to buy that shit. Especially because we're all adults now. We have time and shit. These Metroidvania, Castlevania ass games are probably long as fuck.
Has inspired so many games, but has only ever had 3 entries sell over 1 million units. The first, Lords of Shadow, the original Castlevania, and Symphony of the Night. Then you have something like Silent Hill, one of the progenitors of the survival horror genre, which at time of writing has sold 9 million copies collectively, but of the many games in this iconic franchise, only 2 of them have ever sold over 1 million copies, and they were the first 2 games. Then you have Bomberman, a series so
Bomberman's so ugly. Look at this fucker's eyes, dude.
Traditionally unpopular.
Look like bacon
it was
strips.
Newsworthy when Super Bomberman R broke
Burnt
the 2
bacon
million
strips.
unit mark. And once again, I could not tell you why these seemingly iconic franchises are so paradoxically unpopular. Especially when you have something like Metal Gear Solid, which is a very popular franchise by the same publisher and has all the makings of a niche series. But it managed to break away and become not only one of the most iconic, but one of the best-selling video game franchises in history. If I had to guess, I think it's because Metal Gear Solid, when it first came out, had a novelty to it, being easily the most cinematic game to ever exist at the time. A novelty that attracted a casual audience that never let go, whereas I guess these other franchises were either too inherently niche in their sensibilities or never had the same novelty to a casual audience to attract as many long-term fans. But either way, that's why you don't see these franchises much these days, because historically, well, these franchises have never sold well. At the end of the day, the main issue here is casual fans versus hardcore fans. Hardcore fans will theoretically buy anything you put out in these franchises that they like, but the casual audience also outnumbers the hardcore audience
100%. And then it's like, if the game has to be amazing, especially with the new price point, because the hardcore fans don't give a fuck. They'll bitch, moan, and complain on Twitter, but then they'll still pre-order a Switch 2 day one. Oh man, fucking Nintendo, these price hikes are crazy. Pre-orders are open. Oh, I'll take two. I'll take two. The hardcore fans don't even practice what the fuck they preach. But then the casual fans, we gonna look at this shit and be like, this shit better be worth it. I'm gonna go. That's why me as a look, I feel like this is like casual fan shit, even though I think hardcore fans do it. That's why I search up reviews on video games before I buy them, because I'm like, I am not gonna spend, because I remember people came at me one time in chat about that. They were like, yo, you look at IGN or other people's reviews of a video game without just blindly buying the game and spending $80 on it. I'm like, are you fucking stupid? You think I'm just gonna spend $80, $70, $60 on a brand new game and then just be like, oh, the game was bad, I guess I lost $60? Hell fucking no. I'm looking at reviews of a game because games are too expensive. If games were $30, $40, then maybe I'll blindly buy and see if I like it. But it's not like, hell no. Games cost a shit ton of money now. You said pre 7 out of 10 argument? Bro, you're the only one talking about it, Time Clock. You the only one talking about it.
To one at least. And what makes something appeal to a casual audience will vary from situation to situation. Conker's Bad Fur Day, for example, was a game that at the time of its release had absolutely no appeal. Hear me out. There's an audience for ironic, subversive games these days in the larger age of irony, and now that games as a medium are more established, but back then, adults weren't gonna buy it because it was a genre of games largely associated with children's games, and then the only kids who were going to get it bought for them
the great mighty
poo
poo
were dozy enough to not notice
this
the
guy look
very
nasty
clear warnings on the front of the box. So that's a case where it's easy as hell to pinpoint exactly why it flopped. If it were released today, it would probably...
Dylan, you think I don't know that information? I've already seen that shit yesterday, Dylan. Dylan, we talked about this yesterday. Dylan, are you high? Dylan, we talked about this information yesterday.
...be relatively popular. But really, that's just the evolution of audience desires. Something you see quite
the problem
a lot
with
of
Speak with Your Wallet is that at some point that shit doesn't work. It'll never work on Pokemon. It'll never work on a Nintendo system
true.
Like the Switch 2
because there's
unless
always
it's
idiots
Wii U
that's gonna
level,
buy
and
it.
I bet Nintendo always plans to not do that from now on.
Yeah. You know why? It's because there's always going to be an idiot that's going to buy it. Right? Like all of us as a collective in the chat, 100 of us or whatever, how many people, whatever. We could all say together we're not going to buy this game, but guess what? The next block of 100 people are going to be like, I'm going to buy that shit. I literally have a cousin where, like, when the Switch 2 started getting, like, the announcements and stuff, I told my cousin straight up, I said, yo, I don't think I'm gonna cop the Switch 2 day one. I'm gonna let that shit settle and, like, probably wait, like, 6 months to a year after the Switch 1's released to probably consider buying it. Bro was looking at me, he was like, I'm copping that shit day one. And I'm looking at him like, so you copping that shit day one? Why exactly? He's like, so I could play all the new games. But then I'm looking at him and I'm like, bro, Metroid ain't coming out day one. Donkey Kong is not coming out day one. The only game we know of, I think, that's coming out day one is Mario Kart. And I'm like, you willing to spend $500+ just so you could play some fucking Mario Kart? And then don't even get me started with the accessories, because then all those extra accessories, if you even consider purchasing them, is just like a whole other price increase. I'm good off that, bro.
larger gaming landscape.
I'm not going to cop that shit day one. I mean, if you want to cop it day one, go ahead. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money, but I feel like also a lot of people that are going to cop it day one might not even open said shit. Well, you know what? Nintendo's doing that program thing, so never mind, where it's kind of like you have to be a Nintendo subscriber for a year, but I wouldn't be surprised if people don't even open them shits. They instantly put them in like a glass box, and then they're like, oh, this is the Switch 2. I'm going to save it in here for 20 years so I could resell it in the future. You said Japan alone is going to do numbers for Nintendo. True, but if you think about it, they're selling the Switch for a way shittier, cheaper price over there in Japan compared to America. If anything, I feel like Nintendo would want to make higher sales here in America because the conversion rate from the US dollar going over to yen in Japan, like when they make that purchase, is going to be 10 times crazier. But then it's like if everybody's over there in Japan buying it in yen, they ain't making that much money. I feel like they realistically, depending on the US, they ran out of units in Japan. You said Switch emulator gonna go stupid? They better release one.
That's why things like Crash and Spyro were so ungodly popular in the 90s, but then as soon as the 2000s hit, they fell off completely and had a near-decade hiatus. And why Rayman is suddenly relevant after nearly a decade of basically nothing, because they decided to take the kiddie platformer thing and turn him into a sweary SOB, although I'm not sure if I can use Rayman as an example for this list, considering that after several re-releases, Rayman Legends is officially the best-selling game in the Rayman series as of 2019. So even if the series did fall off in the mid to late 2000s, it's a wonder why Ubisoft isn't doing anything with this series now.
That's what the fuck I'm saying. Like, Rayman Legends style of the game was pretty good, and then they kind of just like gave up on it. I don't know what happened. Did the other one didn't sell well enough or something?
In fact, Ubisoft as a whole is a bit of a perplexing case because while they do have a lot of iconic intellectual property that has traditionally sold well, it's a bit of a dice toss to know if they stopped making individual franchises because of dwindling popularity or for reasons that only make sense to them. The only one that I can definitely say was a flop was Beyond Good and Evil, which would probably explain why the sequel has been stuck in development hell for more than half my life. God, that's depressing. Now let's take a look at Nintendo, because they're a company
Is it Star
that
Fox
has
Assault?
historically been at various points good and bad
Star
at
Fox
maintaining
Assault, they
their
went
legacy
crazy
IP,
with this game.
and some of it is even kind of questionable to begin with, if the IP is mistreated, unpopular, or just played out. Earthbound, for example, is it mistreated or have they done everything they want to do with it? F-Zero hasn't sold over 1 million copies in a single game since 2001.
Exactly, bro. But then you see all these Nintendo fans yelling at the top of their lungs, oh, we need a brand new F-Zero game. I'm like, you know damn well that shit's not going to sell that crazy. You know that shit's not going to sell that crazy. Yes, there's a hardcore community of F-Zero fans, but not enough for Nintendo to be like, yeah, let's drop a fucking bag on this franchise and do this marketing campaign for this fucking game. Hell no.
Is the franchise inherently unpopular in the modern age, or did they just run out of things they could do with it? More to the point, will F-Zero 99 be the shot in the arm that revives the franchise? Who knows? Star Fox.
You might as well just keep it at that other game that Nintendo had. Just keep it there. Don't even make a new one.
But that's a case where I think the franchise is paradoxically unpopular despite how iconic the franchise should be. It has not sold over 1 million copies since 2002, with the exception of the 3DS.
Bro, Star Fox Adventures almost sold 2 mil. Star Fox Assault didn't even sell 1 mil. I didn't even know that. And what's crazy is this. I enjoyed Star Fox Assault more than Adventures because Assault had all these guns. You could fly the R-Wing, you could ride the Landmaster, you could have these fun multiplayer battles where you could, like, you know, couch multiplayer. Mad fun.
Yes, remake of 64.
Game was dope. Story was cool.
Wrong messages to Nintendo. But even then, the pseudo reimagining of Star Fox 64, Star Fox Zero, is one of the worst-selling Nintendo-made Wii U exclusives. Poor marketing, unappealing game, or dead franchise.
What do you mean poor marketing? I remember when this game was coming out, the marketing was not poor. Nintendo had all the fucking Star Fox made into puppets. And they were having commercials out the ass, like with them in puppet form, with them showing up in like puppet suits and shit. Their marketing was going crazy with this game.
Well, to give you an indication, Star Fox Command came out on the DS, which had the second biggest install base in the history of gaming at time of writing. But even then, it couldn't crack 1 million copies, so unfortunately, I have to assume that it is a dead franchise.
Damn, Star Fox 64 3D only sold 1 milli? Yikes.
But either way, the consistent unpopularity of Star Fox will give Nintendo pause if another game is ever pitched. Then you have something like Golden Sun.
Golden Sun got some sauce to it. This game, in my honest opinion, I feel like needs a revival / revamp. Because I haven't even played Golden Sun that much. But from the little that I played, this game is saucy as fuck. Like, in terms of combat, the specials that they use, very fucking clean, bro.
Which had 2 games that sold relatively
this game is
decently
fire.
and 1 game that sold like shit. Then
Nah, bro, they gotta revive Golden Sun.
there are tons of other individual examples of franchises over the years that had mediocre popularity despite being considered some of the greats. Ninja Gaiden, despite having many games and several re-releases, has allegedly sold less than 7 million units collectively. Klonoa, a truly beloved franchise, lauded for its tight gameplay and adorable aesthetics, but every main game was known to be a flop to the point that it was surprising the remake ever got made. Anybody remember Skylanders? That was a series that was a billion-dollar franchise at one point.
Yo, that's crazy, bro. They were selling all those little amiibo shits for. What happened with this series?
Then in a matter of like 5 years, completely bottomed out, with Imaginators only selling something like 66,000 copies in the first month.
Because I remember the commercials for that fucking shit. Highlanders or whatever it was called. It was all over TV.
About Pac-Man,
Skylanders,
the
that's what the fuck
first
it's
video
called.
game mascot, but unfortunately outside of iOS and Android hasn't sold anything
You
except
said same thing happened to Guitar Hero. I feel like what happened to Guitar Hero is that they made a version of Guitar Hero where they were like, here's some songs in it, and then they were like, now you gotta download all the songs. And then I think when a newer installment of Guitar Hero came out, they were like, oh yeah, by the way, all those songs that you bought on the previous version, you can't even transfer over. I feel like it was some bullshit like that. I don't know. You said, I'm assuming the amiibo trend kind of kills Skylanders? I don't think so. I'm assuming the amiibo shit made people want to collect the shit more.
exceptionally well in God
That's
knows
what I
how
think.
long.
I don't know.
Legacy of Kain was another one that had its heyday back on the PS1, but then faltered with several sequels that never broke the million-unit mark. I could find probably dozens of examples of this, beloved franchises that were unfortunately never particularly popular or were once popular but then died off. But there is one more big company, and I wanted to save the biggest for last, the company that is probably the most
You
notorious.
said people just got bored of toys? Not even people, because the shit was still marketed towards kids. There was a bunch of kids buying this shit. I remember. Initial purchase of Skylanders is expensive. That's another thing, because I remember the Skylanders boxes. It wasn't like individual stuff. You had to buy like a whole box that almost looked like one of those Pokemon TCG packs, where it was like a bunch of shit is inside of it. It'd be like it come with 2 amiibos, the game, and some other shit. So it was like expensive to get into too. Oh, you had to buy a portal. Yup. Yeah, there was a bunch of shit.
For leaving its franchises to rot. PlayStation. Now, originally, this part of the video was going to be a bit speculatory because much like a lot of companies, their public game sales were rough estimates if they weren't directly publicized. That wasn't until recently when an internal sales record of over 100 PlayStation exclusive games from throughout the years was leaked, from games that sold as much as 25 million to as little as 120,000. I can't be 100% sure of the validity, but for the games that have publicized sales data, it's all consistent.
Bro, they got Secret Agent Clank sold 1.14. That's crazy. Secret Agent Clank sold 1 million. Killzone 2 sold 1 million. Damn, that's terrible. I thought it sold way more. Killzone was kind of... I would love to see like a new age revamped Killzone game, because I feel like Killzone, when it came out, the graphics and how it looked was like ahead of its time. But then I feel like the console was not strong enough to really fully utilize this shit. But yep.
And if this is fake, I don't see what the purpose would be if there's no clear agenda. That's a lot of work to go through for no reason. There's a lot of interesting insight into franchise popularity here. I think the most interesting thing to consider are the games that didn't even make the list. Ape Escape didn't even make the list. The Legend of Dragoon.
No way. Maybe that's why we never got a new Ape Escape. Ape Escape didn't even make the fucking list. That means that they have zero hope for this shit.
Made the list.
Wait, why was I?
Halftime entertainment.
Frankly, I'm just happy to be included.
But based on what information I can gather, the first game sold relatively well as sort of a tech demo for the DualShock controller. Meanwhile, the sequel, and especially the threequel, sold atrociously. Then there's Parappa the Rapper, where the first game sold respectably, meanwhile, allegedly the sequel sold less than 1/10 of that number. Or Knack, which had its first game sell respectably as a launch title to the PS4, then the sequel's sales dropped off the map.
Yo, W, fuck Knack.
Or how about Little Big Planet? It had 3 games that
Bro, Little Big Planet, I want to see, let me see
sales dropped off the map. Or how about Little Big Planet? It had
There's no way Little Big Planet 2 sales was that. I mean, it's still great, but goddamn, compared to 1, 2 was the best one. 2 was the best one. That's the craziest part about this whole shit. 2 was the best one. 2 had so much, bro. I can't even explain it, bro. 2 was the best one.
3 games that sold pretty well. Then Sackboy: A Big Adventure had a massive sales drop off.
Bro, because you used the Sackboy name and made a platformer. You didn't make the whole slogan of Little Big Planet was like make, create, and play. That was their whole, I think, like if I remember correctly, the shit. Make, create, play. Make, create, play. This game had none of that shit. It was just play. You ain't creating nothing. You playing and you're in a platformer.
Despite coming out on 3 separate platforms compared to Little Big Planet 3, which came out on 2 separate platforms. Gravity Rush is another one that didn't even make the list, but that's also another one that by all sales indications that I could find couldn't surpass 1 million units for either
That's sad. I'm not going to lie, because Gravity Rush 1 was fun. I couldn't even finish Gravity Rush 2.
of its entries. Then there's Jak and Daxter. It surprised me to find out that the very first Jak and Daxter game sold relatively well, as in one of the best-selling PS2 exclusives.
But you know who came through? Ratchet and Clank. That's why. Ratchet and Clank, I know, stole all their sauce. They were like, we're the big guys in town.
Well. Then it had a severe drop-off in the second game, a further drop-off with the third game, and the fourth game, aka Jak X Racing, didn't even make the list, but internally I've heard it's considered the worst-selling PlayStation-based Naughty Dog game, although it probably outsold the likes of Way of the Warrior. Medieval didn't make the list in any of its iterations, but reports state that the first game didn't crack 1 million units, though that's a
Wasn't this the really hard game? Of course this shit ain't gonna crack and make 1 million sales. People are like, I ain't playing this shit.
rough estimation. The second game sold worse, and both remakes underperformed. And hey, I got a cop to this one. Twisted Metal, a franchise I've spent the last couple years covering both first and second hand. Well, you got several games that surpassed 1 million units sold, but nothing that made it past 2 million, and the last one to sell over 1 million units was back in 2001. So basically, the vast majority of their legacy IP was never particularly popular or proved to be unpopular in the long term. And meanwhile, if you look at their top 20 best-selling PlayStation exclusives...
That's crazy. Horizon Zero Dawn is at the top. I never even got to finish that game. God of War 2018, Marvel's Spider-Man, Uncharted 4, Last of Us Remastered. That's crazy. The remastered of The Last of Us sold that much, and then that's why Naughty Dog was like, let's remake it again. God of War Ragnarok, Gran Turismo 3, Gran Turismo Sport. Bro, there's so much Gran Turismo up here. Who in the chat plays this game? Y'all play Gran Turismo? Y'all just be in the lobby just hearing the car start. Y'all just be listening to the car start. That's it. What do y'all even do in Gran Turismo? Race? It's not even fun, bro. Like, y'all racing, y'all not throwing items or nothing. Y'all just going down straight lines and turns. Need for Speed is better. I agree 100%, because at least Need for Speed got like that cartoony aspect of it where like it feels like you in a video game. This shit feels like you in real life, Gran Turismo. That shit boring. Why the fuck would I want to play a game and make it feel like I'm in real life? Need for Speed got better cars, better music, and nitrous. You said Need for Speed is so shit? Hell no, Time Clock. You probably played the bad ones then.
Exclusive games, it's exclusively filled with new IP, new iterations of old IP, and Gran Turismo. It's hard to say why a lot of intellectual property doesn't have staying power or the legs to be popular. Maybe it's marketing, maybe it's appeal, maybe it's demographics, maybe it's Maybelline. At the end of the day, market research exists for a reason. Are modern PlayStation games samey and repetitious? In certain ways, yes, but that's because these are the games that people will buy, and there's historical precedent for this. In fact, full disclosure, the impetus for this video was a couple of things that happened with Jim Ryan. First of all was many moons ago when he
wasn't Jim Ryan the one fucking all the shit?
Said that story-rich third-person games were the future of PlayStation, which translated to, yeah, that thing we're doing right now that's seen our greatest first-party success in history, yeah, we're gonna continue doing that. People still got very mad at this. The second was when Jim Ryan announced that he was retiring, and people rejoiced as if Lex Luthor had been taken down by Superman. Let me preface this by saying, I don't know Jim Ryan, but I'm pretty sure he's not a real-life supervillain who's been attempting to destroy PlayStation from the inside. He is just the guy steering the ship towards what makes the most money. I'd imagine there's no ulterior motive other than that. And for the record,
Probably.
Jim Ryan has also held his position in PlayStation for decades, so if you don't like the current direction of PlayStation and want to blame him, please note that he very likely also oversaw the era of PlayStation that you liked. I feel like this practice of demonizing people for rather mundane things is a really stupid practice.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
Matter of fact, let's go back to that meme from earlier. You see, things like this is the manifestation of toxic egotism in gaming. Denying things that are true, pushing things that aren't true, and also doing it in a toxic way that downplays a lot of hard work by a lot of people, and essentially gatekeeps what you are and aren't allowed to enjoy. This is the part of the video where it's basically impossible for me to discuss my feelings without ruffling feathers, because this is something that a lot of people get weirdly angry at, that is to say, the state of modern PlayStation exclusives. But here's the thing. I've been with PlayStation for most of my life, largely whether I liked it or not. Those were the consoles that I basically ended up with. Either way, I've played most of these franchises and like most of them. I like The Last of Us, but I also generally like Jak and Daxter, except for the third game.
Yeah.
Really, it's Uncharted I'm most lukewarm on. But either way, I don't discriminate against old Naughty Dog or new Naughty Dog. In fact, I don't discriminate against old PlayStation or new PlayStation. I really enjoyed the first Ape Escape game, the later entries I can take or leave. I enjoy Medieval, and I even enjoyed the remake. I have fond memories of Little Big Planet and Ratchet and Clank, and y'all already know what I think about Infamous, Twisted Metal, and God of War. Matter of fact, I'm gonna throw a bone to my old school fans. Legend of Dragoon, one of my favorite games of all time. For me, it's not about what is and isn't popular or what is and isn't good, because success does not equal subjective quality, as there are a lot of popular games that I think are crap and a lot of unpopular games that I love. It's about having the intellectual honesty and self-awareness of our own egotism to understand that just because we like something doesn't mean it's popular enough to justify a sequel, and just because something is important to you doesn't mean it's important to everyone, or—
True. Talk your shit, bro. Talk your shit. That's like majority of the gaming community, bro. These motherfuckers think just because they had a special connection with a certain character when they were fucking 5 years old, that the game deserves, like they need to make a whole game revolving around that motherfucker. Motherfuckers say make a game with Bandana D. Are you fucking smoking? Are you smoking crack? They said make a game with Bandana D. Get the fuck out of here.
Looking cool, Joker.
Yo, what's good retro?
I just got here.
I'm taking a fat shit.
All right, you go take your shit. I'm
Anyways,
gonna get my water.
Chill Stream, Iceberg, Dr. Stoner, Hunter Cunter, Dank Bowls, Elden Bong, Link, Jackoff and Dixter, Ratchet Deadcock, Ratk, Snyder Cut. I'm hungover.
All right. Second I heard, I just got here. You said Tainted never gets tired of writing these. He don't write them. He got them all copy and pasted on a notes, like on a notepad. He got the whole shit copy and pasted on a notepad. And then the second he about to donate, he Control-C, Control-V that shit.
or is important generally, and the opposite is true as well. Just because something is popular that you don't like, it shouldn't downplay the popularity, and more to the point, doesn't mean it's also important to other people. And never more will you see more—
Thank you, Tainted, for the 5. I appreciate you, baby.
Importance and toxic attitudes towards popular games, or never more will you see people taking the popularity or lack of popularity of various game franchises more weirdly personally than with PlayStation discourse. The phrase of the day is intellectual dishonesty.
Me, I'm not gonna lie, Ape Escape is a game that I would like to see come back, even though I didn't play all the other ones. I think the only Ape Escape game I played was— which one was it, Chad? Was it 2?
because the amount of vitriol I see get sent to developers by people who can't mentally reconcile these things is quite frankly sickening. To me, this is what the whole thing comes down to.
Little Big Planet has only gotten a spin-off and shitty mobile game in the last 9 years. Ape Escape hasn't gotten anything over a decade. No Devil May Cry, no Mega Man Battle Network. Okay, Battle Network getting a revamp will be cool, but I don't know why I feel like they're going to fuck it up. No Beautiful Joe. Beautiful Joe is a classic.
These things is quite frankly sickening. To me, this is what the whole thing comes down to. Not being able to mentally reconcile these things is one thing, but making it everyone else's problem is where things start to get toxic. And I believe that developers should be able to make what they want and not be held to arbitrary standards. And even though we're mostly talking about PlayStation right now, that goes for every developer. There's also a tendency towards cognitive dissonance, I find. Over the years, I've seen hundreds of variations on the phrase, X developer needs to go back to making creative games instead of the games they're making now, and their definition of creativity is sequels to games they grew up with, or games like them.
True.
Which isn't creativity, it's regurgitation.
True.
To those people, you can just say you want old franchises back without presenting it as some sort of greater issue than it is. Because that is an egregious level of intellectual dishonesty.
True.
I feel like it's a tired, regurgitated talking point that people repeat without actually understanding the point they're trying to make. Despite having a working understanding of it, I've never played a Horizon game, and I probably never will because I have no interest. Doesn't mean it's not successful.
Nah, bro, I want to play this shit, bro. I gotta, like... Honestly, bro, I feel like the first game, I gotta replay it from the start because I don't remember what the fuck this game is about. The only thing I do remember is that she was in the middle of a tournament. Something happened in the tournament where it was like an ice tournament where we got invaded and then like some of our teammates got killed or some shit. And then I don't remember anything else about this game.
Or creative. I also haven't played a Mario game in years because this is...
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I haven't even copped this shit either when I was gonna cop it day one. But then good thing I saved money because apparently everybody said that the boss fights in this game is ass anyway. So, hey, I saved money.
The franchise that doesn't really interest me, but it's still to video games what Mickey Mouse is to cinema. Either way, it's not worth taking these things seriously or personally because the popularity of a game you like or lack thereof does not diminish your ability to enjoy it, and the success of things you don't like doesn't automatically make it bad. You don't need validation to like something, and if you want the validation of your favorite things being popular, then you're in this for the wrong reasons. Like, seriously, be more secure in the things you like.
Facts.
It's okay for things to be niche, and it's okay to like things that are niche and not have to treat them as something.
And to be honest, I like it when things are niche to a certain extent because then it's kind of like, I feel like I'm in an exclusive club. I'll be like, oh, I like this game. I wonder if somebody else knows about it. And then when you find out one person that's also into that same game that's very niche, I don't know why. I feel like that shit just builds like a strong ass bond out of the blue. You be like, bro, you like this one obscure. It's like, for example, Tulip. Tulip, you said no? You know about what the fuck you mean no? Like Nikkei? No, we're talking about games, for example, like Tulip. Right? Not that much people play Tulip. But if I go up to somebody and they be like, I played Tulip, they gonna be like, I'm gonna be like, no way you played Tulip. You played that fucking game? Instantly, I'll have to talk to you. You see I'm talking to Afro? Well, you didn't at him, motherfucker. So for that, you're gone. You moron. Maybe you should start adding people in chat. You moron. Anyway, let's continue.
Bigger than what they are. It's also worth saying that this attitude of vastly overinflating the importance of things people like while downplaying the things they don't like ties into a somewhat more rare but nonetheless infuriating mindset that I've seen on various social medias that Sony quote-unquote forces their studios to move away from their legacy IP and into making these other games. I saw that sentiment a couple of times with Sucker Punch
Jack
and
off and
Ghost of
Dixter
Tsushima,
on
and I said this
screen.
way back during that Ghost of Tsushima video that nobody watched, but
Yes, Jackoff and Dixter. I don't know, bro.
games this good aren't made
I
by
gotta
accident
really get into
or
that
by
shit.
force. Matter of fact, the opposite is true. Here's what Nate Fox himself said on the matter of legacy IP.
while it's fun to live and stay with your family, you know, it's useful to move and it's useful to go somewhere new and have new experiences. And I think that was something that we were pretty clear on, that we knew we were going to do Sly 3 and then we were going to go do new IP.
Games are made when a developer wants to make it, and the publisher believes, based on historical precedent and market research,
all them
that
shots.
it will turn a profit. And when people claim that certain developers are being forced to make games they're currently making instead of their legacy IP, once again goes back to toxic egotism. Because of this attitude of, if I don't like what they're currently making, then how could anybody like it or want to be involved with it? That's basically the mindset, treating developers as cattle to make games that I like instead of the things that will make them successful. And it's like, why are they obligated to do that? I want to encourage people to be fans of the people
Bro, I'm dying for a new Ratchet and Clank game, bro.
behind the games they make rather than the games they make themselves. Don't be this guy.
He said, I'm sorry that all your personal info will get leaked. He said, I'm sure that Wolverine will be a great game. Please don't let anybody force you guys to neglect and delay Ratchet and Clank. Happy holidays. During the Insomniac Games leak, because priorities. Bro, this is why we not getting no fucking game.
Once again, it's rare that it goes that far, but it still irks me to see anybody pour their heart and souls into something and have the whole thing be downplayed. And I feel that one probably gets me more than most, because I also suffer from a debilitating disease known as a former YouTube channel, so I know personally what it's like to A, have derogatory and outright false accusations levied at you regarding your current creative output, B, having your past thrown in your face and used as a weapon against you, C, having your successes be downplayed, and D, having your intentions and mindset regarding your current creative output called into question for reasons that usually boil down to, I liked your old stuff and not your new stuff, therefore your new stuff couldn't possibly be made genuinely. All by people who don't even know what my name is, let alone what my mindset is.
Facts.
But with that said, it would be ignorant to say that just because something has traditionally been unpopular, that doesn't mean it doesn't
You
have
said,
the
what did
potential
bro
to be
do?
so.
I
Fire
could care
Emblem,
less.
From what I understand, was a
I'm one of those people. I could care less. Look, I can't stand those motherfuckers on the internet that's like, you know, like they would find a new content creator, they would like said content creator, and then they'd be like, nah, I gotta run a background check on them. Or there's always that one motherfucker that just gotta bring up some random ass shit. In my honest opinion, unless they did some wild out of pocket shit, right? I get it. But then there's other shit sometimes where motherfuckers would just bring up like shit that's like irrelevant, and then they're like, nah, bro, in 2016 you should have seen what he did, bro.
Series that was very close to getting the axe before Awakening came out and was by far the biggest success story the series had ever seen. It was
You
such
said, what if he stole breast milk? Hey, he stole breast milk. He was thirsty. It is what it is.
a turnaround that it even inspired me to check out the series when Fates came out.
Yo, these games, bro. These games.
Regret it to this day, but it was there. The same goes for Metroid, which saw its greatest success only in recent years after a long hiatus. How about Xenoblade, a series that Nintendo had so little faith in? Its original release on the Wii was a GameStop exclusive back in the day. Now it's considered one of the top Nintendo franchises. Ace Attorney was another one that kind of just existed for a while, but now it's found its audience after they re-released the trilogy on modern consoles. Crash and Spyro had their biggest successes after taking a significant hiatus. Both Ratchet and Clank and God of War completely fell off sales-wise before experiencing their greatest booms in more recent years. What exactly it is that makes a traditionally unpopular franchise have a sudden boom period, or what it is that revitalizes a dormant franchise, there are multiple factors that can go into it, and there's no telling what will and won't rise from the ashes one of these days. But a lot of franchises don't get a second chance at a first impression, and support begins at the grassroots.
I don't know what
You have to
was
be
that.
willing
Ape
to
Escape?
support
That looked
these
like
things
fun.
in
You were
any way
racing.
you can as they come up. Back when Medieval got a remake, I bought it no questions asked. I love the world and the atmosphere, so I would have loved to see the franchise be supported further. But evidently, not a lot of people bought the remake. Same goes for that remaster of Parappa the Rapper that came out several years back.
Parappa the Rapper had a remaster? Uh-oh.
How many people actually bought it? Or how about that
I don't even
remaster
know.
of Ape Escape 2 you
I
can
don't
buy
even
right
know.
now? You might even have to plug your nose and buy something that was botched, such as the re-releases of the Jak and Daxter games. Because good or bad, it shows you're putting your money where your mouth is. How many legacy collections are out there for things like Mega Man and Castlevania, and how many of these franchises have games that you can still buy new copies of right now, physically or digitally? This is not me blaming the audience, this is more so a call to action. If you want a niche franchise to come back, you
True, buy their shit.
can't unfortunately be picky about how you support them. You need to buy every new release,
True.
even if you don't jive with the current offerings.
True.
For example, I know a Mega Man fan who bought the Battle Network Legacy Collection despite having no interest in Battle Network
Just because he loves Mega Man.
because he just wanted to support the franchise
Wow.
and encourage Capcom to make more. It's unfortunate, but most companies have no vested interest in what does and does not succeed. They just follow the money. Fire Emblem didn't randomly become a success one day, and the only way to prove that there's money in something is to spend it and maybe even encourage your friends and family to do the same. Just hopefully not in an annoying or toxic way, because nothing is sure to make someone do the opposite of what you want them to do than if you ask them to do it in an annoying way or harass them. And speaking of harassment, I just have 2 final requests in regards to conduct surrounding dead or dormant franchises. First of all, don't harass developers if they're not making the games you want them to make. I saw some really not nice things aimed at
Bro, just don't harass workers, period. Don't harass game developers, period. That's
I
it.
ran a background check on Retromani and I found out that Retro was a real nigga, so I had to follow.
Thank you, Electric Line. I appreciate you for that. Thank you,
Insomniac
baby.
Games on Twitter for daring to make that Wolverine game instead of the next Ratchet and Clank game. Don't be that guy.
Fuck
of all, I
Naughty
really
Dog for
want to
treat
encourage
Jack and
people to
Daxter like
appreciate the
shit
things
since
they
like
have instead of just
2006. Neil Druckmann worked on Jack Off and Dexter the Lost Frontier,
Nah.
which was the worst Jack game.
Look
which
at
was
how
a
Jack
spin-off
and Daxter
game.
look, stretchy
Dog
as
shit ass
fuck.
game led by Neil Cuckman, who just
Hell
wants
no.
to make some pretentious ass games and white woman rage simulator.
Nah,
I'm
bro.
kinda glad and not glad Jack 4 hasn't been made despite being cancelled, because Neil Cuckman almost made Jack 4 a real life character.
Look, all we can do now is just wait for this shit. That's it, bro. We don't know if this shit's ever gonna come out. I'm not that big of a Jack and Daxter fan. I'm more of a Ratchet and Clank, and yeah, I like Ratchet and Clank more.
lamenting the non-existence of hypothetical sequels. For example, there's over 100 Mega Man games. If you think about it, that's pretty
There's
cool.
over 100 Mega Man games? No way. In my head, I realistically thought there was like maybe 10, maybe 15. You said over 100?
Because how many franchises have that many games? And the same can apply to many franchises, even those with only a few games. There's nothing wrong with wanting more, but sometimes it feels like people want more at the expense of what they already have, even if what they have is still fairly new. Like, I've seen it pretty consistently where a new release comes out and people enjoy it, then like 6 months later you see people on Twitter saying, okay, well, where's the next one? Which is just short-sighted.
Yo, that's so stupid. I agree with that shit, bro. I agree with that shit. Or if it's like a single player game and then like it's a single player story game, right? Motherfuckers for the first month play it, they all beat the campaign, and then there'll be that one random goofy goober on Twitter that would then post like the Steam, how much people are playing, and then they're like, wow, look at this game, it fell off. I'm like, no shit, there's gonna be a fall off. It's a fucking story game. Everybody bought the game, they played it, they finished the campaign, there's nothing else left to do. I'ma hop on to the next game. But then they'd be like, oh, nah, this equals to the game is bad now because first month it did well in players and now a lot of people are not playing it anymore. I'm like, maybe because we fucking finished the game. Maybe because we finished the game. Maybe because we finished the game.
To me. So if there's anything to take away from this video, it's just because you like something, it doesn't make it important or popular. Not liking something that is popular doesn't mean that other people don't, and it doesn't diminish the overall popularity.
Bro, you should send this shit to the Smash Brothers fans. That's why I'm praying to God that we don't see Smash Brothers for a long time when it comes to the Switch 2. I hate Nintendo fans. I hate the Smash Brother reveal shits because it's fucking annoying as shit. And it's like full of these smelly ass, dog water ass, non-deodorant wearing ass bitches that are fiending for their garbage ass characters to get into the fucking game. Talk about what Bandana D. We need Marks from Kirby to fucking get into Smash Bros. No. We need like the most obscure random ass RPG character from fucking Fire Emblem Awakening to get into this game. Shut your bitch ass up. No.
or importance.
No.
Don't oversell the importance
You'll get
of
nothing.
something. Wanting something is fine. Demanding is not. Don't be a dick.
We need Waluigi. You saw how much people were screaming, we need Sora. Who mained Sora? The amount of people that was screaming, oh man, put in another Final Fantasy character representative in the game. Oh, we got Sephiroth, one of the most badass motherfuckers. Who plays Sephiroth? Not a single soul. Not a single soul. Oh, why? Because he's not top tier. Oh, because he's not top tier. Okay.
Change can only begin with you. It's okay for things to be niche. The popularity of something should not diminish your ability to enjoy it. And more than anything, sometimes life isn't fair, so we don't get what we want. But we should appreciate what we have.
You said same with Banjo, bro. And Banjo has a nice moveset. People, a lot of people on the internet say that they hate Banjo because his moveset is boring. Any of the new characters that got in, I just don't like Smash Bros. Players, bro. They're just fucking annoying. Every Nintendo Direct. Smash? Smash? Question mark? Smash? Smash?
There. Hopefully I've communicated this point in a succinct and hopefully good faith way that will communicate the issue without pissing too many people off. I didn't say any of this to be a dick or a tool. I just wanted to communicate.
You can be a Jack and
sentiment that I
Daxter
feel
fan
needed
and
to
a
be said
Ratchet
for a
and
long
Clank
time.
fan
And if
retro.
you feel I was
Why do
mean-spirited,
Ratchets and
I
Clank
genuinely
fans always
apologize
make it
because
to
that
him a
was not
Ratchet
my
fan? I can't like Jack. Type of
No,
thing. I
that's
grew
not-
up playing more Jack than Ratchet,
But
but
if you
still
like what I
played a
do
lot of
here and
Ratchet.
wanna support the channel,
Fuck
you
y'all
can like this
Ratchet
video, leave
fans
a comment telling me
anyways.
what you think,
Y'all got
subscribe,
like
and hit
5
the
new Ratchet games within the last 10 years and Jack off and Dixter ain't get shit.
No, the reason why I like Jackoff and Dixter more, well, less actually. Jackoff and Dixter, right? Let's talk about it. Jackoff and Dixter, I didn't like how the game looked, and I didn't like how the game played. And you know what it is too? I feel like the reason why I don't like Jackoff and Dixter is because the first game that introduced me into Jackoff and Dixter was, I think, part 3. And from what he said in the video, I think he said part 3 was the worst one. So maybe, just maybe, the reason why I hate the series is because I started off with the worst one.
Jack 3 is the peak of the series.
Oh, it's the peak of the series? Oh, then I just hate Jackoff and Dixter. Fuck it. Nah, bro, if that was the best in the series, well, damn. Well, damn. Bro, I might have to bring my fan down here. You say, in no way we're going to call it Jackoff and Dixter?
notification icon so you're always up to date on what I'm doing. And if you want to support me in a more direct fashion, you can pledge to my Patreon for unique perks and rewards such as early...
I'm not gonna lie, this guy's video content was great. The only thing I didn't like about his whole video was that nasty ass icon in the beginning. This nasty ass shit. I don't want to look at no nasty ass bacon on a fucking pan getting sizzled. That shit look yucky. That was the only thing I didn't like about this shit. But other than that, good video. Good video. Good video. Good video, bro. Jackoff and Dixter. You say you think the bacon is overrated? I just don't like looking at sizzling bacon on a grill.